going, man?
Good. How about you?
Good, good. Sucks it's the bye week, but you know,
We need it.
yeah, we need it.
I think those are the two things that I dislike the most about the NFL season is the bye week and then Thursday night football.
Yeah,
Like when we're playing, when the Chargers are playing, I don't know why I just don't like it.
yeah. Well, I mean, usually those Thursday night games aren't very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, always a higher chance to get injured, because you're playing a few days after. So
And
yeah,
10 days off, we don't see them play for 10 days. It just like breaks up the routine that we have of watching them on Sundays.
it does, it does. But let's get into some fantasy football. Who are some of your? Let's start with buy low first. Who are
Buy
some buy
low.
low?
Yeah, buy lows are easy for me. The sell highs are a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
But buy low, the three that I have is Brock Bowers. Um, I know that he didn't get targeted much last game without Adams, but I believe I don't have it in front of me, but I believe the first 2 weeks he had 8 and 9 targets. Um, and I can only see that continuing, and he wouldn't be a buy low candidate had his targets been that high weeks 3 and 4. So without Adams, he's probably gonna get traded any day now. He's the go-to in Vegas. Yeah, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, they're gonna get an increase in targets as well. But I just think that he's the main guy there, and they've kind of touted his versatility of being able to play wide receiver, being able to play tight end. So especially in a position like tight end that is very scarce, I would definitely trade for him and try and see if anyone can bite if you offer something lower than his current value. Um, Number two would be Lad McConkey. I've said, all along that he's going to be the number one guy on this team. Barring us trading for Amari Cooper, T. Higgins, or any of those types of guys, which I don't think is going to happen, he's the number one guy here. We saw it week 4. I think we're just going to see that continue as the season progresses. I had written an article after week 2 saying that you should buy him low. Somehow people are still selling him low. So definitely take advantage of that. Obviously, you're going to have to offer more in a dynasty league, but in a redraft, definitely make sure you have him on your team because as the season progresses, we're going to need to throw the ball against high-powered offenses. And yeah, I would definitely want him on my team. And lastly, Audric Estime, the rookie running back from the Broncos. This one's pretty simple for me. I mean, the Broncos running backs are pretty bad. Um, Javonte Williams seems to be the passing back now, which opens up more room for Audric Estime to get touches. McLaughlin hasn't really shown much, and their third RB was injured last game, so he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. Estime is projected to return week 6. I would definitely want him on my team. Redraft, but especially dynasty. He's I think only 21, and yeah, he's a monster, especially in the red zone. So I would definitely want him on my team. He could truly be a buy low candidate, unless someone's extremely high on him, like I am. But I have him in every league, so definitely that's my favorite buy low candidate.
Yeah, I think those are good. Javonte Williams has not been good. He was someone a lot of people expected to kind of step up this year. Finally recovering from the injury, but he hasn't. So Estime could be good. Uh, the tight end position has been so bad in fantasy football. Everyone knows that. So even though Bowers did have a down week, it may be hard to pry him away because there's just nothing there. But if you can get him, that'd be
Unless you have
great.
Dallas Goedert, then
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would definitely trade him.
yeah, yeah. Um, I would, since there's news that Tua is going to be back. I would definitely trade for Tyreek Hill because his value without Tua and with Tua is just so different.
Yeah.
He's a league winner if you can get him. Really, that all those Miami Dolphins skill players, HN, Waddle,
Mhm.
they've done nothing without Tua. You get him back in there, it becomes a high-powered offense again. So you want to get those guys. J.K. Dobbins on the Chargers. We've been talking about the Chargers' run struggles without the tackles. Uh, those tackles will come back. Joe Alt's already practicing. He's been practicing at left tackle now. So you're going to get Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh wherever they've gone. They figured out the run game. I think they'll do it again here, and J.K. will get going again. And we face some easier competition too. So I like that. And another guy you've talked about before, Jonathan Brooks, the rookie of the Carolina Panthers. He's been on injured reserve. He hasn't been practicing yet, but maybe in another week or two he'll be ready to go. And hey, the Panthers have been running really well even without him. And this guy is supposed to be a superstar rookie type player. You plug him in there, he could be huge.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I actually had Chuba Hubbard as my sell high, but I don't know. I mean, he's a tank, Brooks. The only concern I have is the ACL injury. That's why I don't know. I erased him as my sell high, Hubbard, just because of that concern. But no, if Brooks is back and he's healthy and he looked like he did in college, he's gonna take that spot easily, that starting spot. So sell high. I had all running backs. The first one was Zach Moss. Zach Moss, he's been playing very well. However, Chase Brown had 40% of the snaps last week, 2 touchdowns. Moss had 60% of the snaps in comparison to 81% in week 3, and I believe 76% in week 2 or week 3. I don't have it in front of me, but it was much higher, the snap percentage for Moss. It was like 20% higher than what he saw week 4. So it seems like Brown is getting more field time, and that doesn't bode well for Zach Moss. On top of that, it's a very difficult schedule that they have remaining. I would sell him high because if Chase Brown kind of breaks free and does his thing again this week, it could be a split, and you don't want to split for a guy who you kind of drafted ahead of Brown to see a split there. I don't know. It's I would sell him high. These are always tough for me because it's just you never know what might happen. So the second guy I had was DeAndre Swift. Look, he hasn't done that great this year, but last week he played exceptionally well. So I would sell him high. You never know who in the league might take him. Roshan Johnson seems to be a guy who's up and coming and seems to really be right behind Swift. Like he's going to be splitting the work any day now. He had a touchdown last game. There was already talk about him kind of increasing his workload. So Swift definitely is a sell high option for me, especially after last week. I don't see him doing that again. And then surprisingly, I mean, again, these are tough for me to do. Derrick Henry. He had back-to-back over 30-point games. He has a couple of easy matchups coming up against the Bengals and the Buccaneers. But after that, it's pretty bleak matchup-wise. Like after week 8, he has a lot of tough matchups, except for the Bengals, again, later on in the season. So I don't know if he can sustain this type of production. And teams might be, just setting up run defenses against the Ravens, which could, help guys like Zay Flowers, but it's going to hurt guys like Derrick Henry. And if they set up run defenses, does that mean that Justice Hill is on the field more? Because remember, before the season started, John Harbaugh was talking about Justice Hill being having an important role in this offense. So we've seen Justice Hill perform at a high level too this year. I don't know. I just feel like you can get a lot for him right now compared to if you keep him. I don't think he's going to do any better than he is right now. So I think that's the whole point of sell high. I'm not saying he's going to be, top 30. He's still going to be top 10, top 15, but just not. He won't have the same production as he is now.
That's true. He has had these monster weeks, and his value is never going to be higher than right now.
Right.
That's true. Uh, I have one that may be controversial. Travis Kelsey, because he's the only target around right now in KC, but he is older. If they do go out and trade for another receiver,
Yeah.
He's going to go right back to where he was before. And teams are going to start to scheme for him and game plan for him like before. When he was younger, he could that wouldn't stop him, but I think he has lost a step, and I don't think he can sustain being the main guy anymore like he used to. And yeah, Chuba Hubbard, like you mentioned, just because of the Jonathan Brooks thing, I think Brooks will come back strong. We see guys come back from ACL tears now. So I think Hubbard will lose his role there once that happens. And this one I wasn't sure about, but Justin Fields, just because his play can be erratic, and you never know if they're going to decide to go with Russell Wilson, and Fields has a bad week, they go to Russell Wilson, and then you're without a quarterback.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, interesting picks.
Yeah, but let's check out who we think the division winners will be from each division here. Let me pull that up.
It's a bit early to do this in the year, but since it's a bye week, why not?
Why not? So AFC West.
Competitive as ever.
Yeah.
Man, it's tough. I mean, heart says Chargers. But mine says Chiefs. I mean, I don't know. Chargers have to prove that they are the divisional leaders before I can pick them at least as the division winner. I'm going to take the Chiefs again this year, but I think next year will be a different story. It's just if the Chiefs go out and get Amari Cooper, let's say, or a wide receiver like with the caliber of Cooper, plus Rashee Rice, the injury doesn't seem as serious as before. I don't know. I don't see them losing grip of the division this year, so I'm going to take the Chiefs.
I agree, and I hate to say it too.
Yeah.
because we want so badly for it to be the Chargers.
Right.
And the Chiefs haven't played that great, really. They shouldn't be 4-0, but they just keep winning games. It's sadly it's probably what the NFL wants. So I don't see them losing this year, and hopefully next year it's the Chargers' year.
Yeah.
We need to go on a run and at least make the playoffs and show something this year. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not counting them out. I'm just saying they have to just show us first that they can win the division. Like points against, we've allowed 50. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Points for is the problem for this team. Like look at the Chiefs; they're at 92. We're at 68.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem. And maybe throwing the ball more will, resolve that. But we know under Roman, they're gonna want to shove the ball down teams' throats running the ball. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But interesting that the Raiders have given up 97 points this year, and all that talk about their defense, Max Crosby and all those guys, they've given up 97 points. That's a high mark.
Yeah. Yeah, they started out looking like they had a good defense against us, but yeah, that isn't good, and there's already dissension among that team. They could blow it all up. Devontae Adams wants to get out of there.
I think they're already in rebuild. Because like Trey Tucker's getting involved more. I don't see Jacoby Myers being traded this year. I think he'll be a focal point along with Bowers. But some of the other guys, like Zamir White, I could see being traded. He struggled this year. So yeah, I could see guys being traded, veterans being traded, like maybe even Gardner Minshew, if they continue losing. I mean, 2-2 is decent, but they play the Broncos next, I believe. And I believe it's in Denver. So
Okay.
chances of them winning in Denver without Adams aren't great. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Raiders play out the rest of this year.
Yeah. Hopefully they just beat each other up
Yeah,
for our game against
we're gonna
Denver.
need it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So AFC South, what do you think there? It's
yeah.
yeah.
Um, I've always been a fan of CJ Stroud.
Mhm.
If Herbert wasn't Chargers quarterback, he'd kind of be my quarterback type of player. I've always liked Stroud. I'm going to take the Texans to win this division. Uh, I don't see much competition here. The Titans look awful. Jaguars, I don't even know what they're doing over there. They have a great rookie in Brian Thomas Jr. I would utilize it even more than they are now. ETN doesn't look great. Lawrence doesn't look great, but the media doesn't care about any of that. They just care when Herbert doesn't do well. So I don't see anybody here that can challenge the Texans. Colts, Richardson hasn't looked that good. Taylor's injured, might not even play this week. I don't see any competition here for the Texans, so I'm taking them to win the division.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe the Colts would be even better if they just started
Yeah,
Joe Flacco,
yeah,
because
it's
they look
crazy.
better. Yeah,
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 it's crazy.
it is. I have to go the same. The Texans, yeah, they just have so many weapons offensively, and
Yeah,
that run they made last year. Um, yeah, they're the team to beat there for sure.
yeah,
Yeah. And how about the AFC North?
yeah. This is going to be interesting. Bengals seem to start off slow and then pick it up. The Browns, uh, Nick Chubb, I really like, but coming off that injury, it's going to be tough for him to get it going early. And by then, they might be out of contention. Um, Deshaun Watson, I just have no faith in, and I think Amari Cooper will be out of there by the deadline.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm going to have to take the Ravens. They started 0-2. They dominated the Cowboys and the Bills. Um, the defense seems to be doing better, and they're going to be running the ball a lot. But I think they have so many trick plays that it's going to work. Yeah, you might be able to stop Derrick Henry a couple times, but you're not going to be able to stop Lamar Jackson. And if Lamar Jackson stopped, then there's Zay Flowers. So they have a lot of guys you can go to. Steelers, I mean, I really like their defense. It's a very good defense. But it's just I don't trust that offense. And no matter who the quarterback is there, I just don't trust them. So right now the Ravens have the momentum. Their schedule isn't getting any easier, but they were supposed to be, divisional AFC championship game type of team. So let's see. Let's see it. I'm gonna take the Ravens.
Yeah, that's a good pick. It's a tough division there, and yeah, it's crazy to see the Bengals where they are, the
Yeah.
bottom, but yeah, they don't have a defense, and I'm gonna go defense with this division. I'll go Steelers just because they have the best defense out of the bunch. It's been surprising that the Ravens haven't had a great defense this year because
Yeah.
that's what they're known for. They do have the best offense in that position, with Derrick Henry there. But yeah, I just like the Steelers defense more. We saw them up close. They're a tough physical team,
Yeah.
and they're gonna run the ball and stick with the run. You know, Fields is gonna be erratic. He'll win you some games. He'll lose you some games. But yeah, it'll be close with whatever it is. But I'll pick the Steelers. Yeah.
It's interesting that the Chargers have allowed less points than the Steelers. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and crazy that the Bengals have put up 102 points, but have given up 104. That is insane.
That
The
is. That
defense
is.
just might as well don't put anybody on the defensive end. It doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. It's like Staley's Chargers, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. AFC East. What do
AFC
you think?
East. I mean, I'm a fan of Josh Allen. I'm also a fan of Aaron Rodgers. I like Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson. I don't know. I don't know. This is the division where it's very tricky because if Devontae Adams comes to the Jets, right,
Mm.
I don't see anybody stopping this team this year. They got Adams, Wilson, Mike Will, Brees Hall, Braylon Allen. I don't see anybody stopping this offense. But that's a big if. We don't know where Devontae Adams is going. As of right now, I will take the Bills to win this division. I know they lost guys like Diggs and Gabe Davis. They somehow look better.
Yeah. I
I
do.
mean, Josh Allen has just completely taken over. And Khalil Shakir seems to be the wide receiver one there. They got Curtis Samuel too, Keon Coleman, who hasn't shown much, but I think he'll get to that point of being at least a wide receiver two on that team. Dalton Kincaid seemed to be more involved in the offense too last week. Yeah, I'm going to take the Bills right now. If Devontae Adams comes to the Jets, that's a different story. But as of right now, the Bills take the division. I know you said Tua might come back. Even if he does, I don't know what kind of shape he's going to be in, just mentally too. Um, but I wouldn't pick the Dolphins regardless. It's between the Jets and Bills, but as of now, it's the Bills for me.
Yeah. I think the Jets have struggled so much on offense. It's been surprising because you think with Rodgers and with all
Yeah.
the firepower he has there, what they only scored 10 points like us last game. You know,
That was a weird game. I was watching that. The weather was horrible. Like
mm,
it wasn't even football weather. It was just complete rain. Just wet field. It was a bad game for both teams because the weather was just horrible.
yeah. Um, and Rodgers is up there in age. He's
Yeah.
not the young Rodgers anymore. And the Bills and Josh Allen look great. Despite not having Stephon Diggs. They just keep rolling. So I have to go with the Bills.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the NFC here. Let's see, where's go
NFC North.
NFC North? Yeah,
Man, this is competitive. This division.
yeah,
Wow.
that is.
Wow. Um. Damn. Vikings have looked really good. Um.
Yeah,
This is tough. I'm gonna take the Lions.
all right.
I just think the combo of Montgomery and Gibbs is working, has worked last year, is working this year. They got Amon Ra and Jamison Williams being more involved too now. Still have Laporta, who hasn't been involved as much this year. Um, and when they play at home, Goff is a different type of animal. So I'm gonna have to take the Lions. I mean, I like the rest of them, like the Bears. Caleb Williams, I think he's getting there. Packers, offensively, they've been great. Defensively, they've been good. Nothing, extraordinary. And the Vikings have just been incredible defensively. Like, I'm blown away by how good this defense is. I just don't know if Sam Darnold can hold on to dominating like this. Aaron Jones has been dominating too. Justin Jefferson, we knew what he was gonna do. But it's just as a complete team, I have to take the Lions.
Yeah, that's a good pick, and this is a very tough division, and we've seen the Lions, almost get to the Super Bowl last season. Um, I, I just love an underdog and a good underdog story. So I'm going to go with Minnesota because who would have seen this coming?
Right.
Uh, nobody wanted to touch Sam Darnold in fantasy football, and Justin Jefferson was falling in drafts because of it, and I was scooping him up too. So, yeah, offense and defense, they have it, all. As long as Darnold holds up, and I think through these 4 games, he's shown he can do it with
Yeah.
this team. We've seen so many quarterbacks now fail with their first team, and then they get a new system, a new coach, and they're able to succeed now. Like Baker Mayfield. So I think he's one of those guys, and I think they're the real deal. But the Lions are tough. That's going to be a tough battle. That is.
It is. It is. It's going to be interesting when they match up how that plays out.
Yeah.
Again, that defense is just crazy. So I don't know, but I just in terms of raw talent, I don't know. Both of them have it. It's just a matter of which one has the edge. And just by a whisker, I would say it's the Lions. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm excited to see JJ McCarthy next year, but Sam Darnold is making the most out of his opportunity for sure.
Yeah, it's like, what do you do with that if Darnold has an amazing year and they win a game or two in the playoffs? Like, what do you do with JJ McCarthy?
I mean, the way I look at it is they had a lot of trust in drafting him. Jim Harbaugh was huge on McCarthy. There's a reason for that, so I would think they're gonna see how McCarthy does during training camp and possibly a couple preseason games. And if he's the guy that they want to keep, to go with, not to keep because they're gonna obviously keep him, they would sell Darnold high, I'm guessing, because you weren't going to get the type of value from Darnold if he wasn't playing well. So they might sell him high and go with McCarthy. Or if some of the guys go, no, this guy's our quarterback, they may just opt to redshirt McCarthy for 1 year. I don't know. He's an animal, when he's out there. Like he knows how to play, and he's still very young. So they may opt out to sit him a year, but that'll be 2 years. So I don't know if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like if he was healthy, he'd be the starter. So I don't know. And if Darnold continues this way, there will be other teams interested. If he doesn't continue this way, then it could be an easy option for the Vikings to say, okay, you're the backup and McCarthy's the starter next year. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. You'd much rather have 2 quarterbacks than none, as the Falcons have learned. NFC South, what do you think there?
NFC South. I'm not too high on the Falcons. I really like Michael Penix.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could start later in the season if they get knocked out of the playoff contention. But until he does start, I'm not too high on them. Kirk Cousins is good. It's just, I don't know, just something with that team is not clicking. The defense isn't good. Offense is mediocre, it seems. I'm surprised they're 2-2. The Saints, they've looked good, but then there were games where you pressure Carr and he becomes Raiders Carr. Yeah. Panthers, they've looked good under Dalton. I'm happy because I have Deontay Johnson in fantasy. But this one seems like the Buccaneers take the division. Godwin has looked incredible. Mike Evans hasn't even gotten it going yet, and they're 3-1. The young stud running back, Bucky Irving, he looks great. And he's going to get more opportunities as, time progresses. So, yeah, and Baker, he's looked exceptionally well. He left the Panthers, looks very good now. Same with Darnold. Seems to be a trend. But, yeah, Baker's looked really good. The defense has been decent, not the greatest, but not the worst. So they're, in the middle of the pack. Today they play, I think, the Buccaneers and Falcons Thursday Night Football. So, if the Bucs win, that's 2-game advantage. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Bucs winning this division. It'll be close between the Saints and Falcons, I would think, but Saints would beat them out. if the defense doesn't improve for the Falcons.
Yeah, the preseason darling for a lot of people was the Falcons because of adding Kirk Cousins and all
Yeah,
the firepower they already had on offense. But like you said, it's just not clicking. It's not, and maybe that takes time. Maybe it takes a little time.
yeah,
Cousins doesn't have the mobility really after that injury, so that's the tough part. But uh, yeah, Tampa Bay is loaded at every position, and they've done it before. They've been to the playoffs with Baker last year, and I think they have that familiarity, and they're playing well. Um, so I have to go Tampa Bay too.
yeah. And this game's in Atlanta, so if the Bucks win, that's huge.
Yeah,
And I mean, Falcons, like, you guys have a generational tight end in Kyle Pitts. They don't even target him anymore. I don't understand. What was the point of drafting Kyle Pitts if you're not going to use him?
yeah,
We don't even know his potential because for the last 2-3 years that he's been there, they haven't used him to his potential. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal is there with Pitts.
yeah. Trade him to the Chargers. you know,
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
yeah, we could use a tight end. We could use another one.
Yeah.
NFC East. What do you say?
NFC East. Man, this is another tough division.
Yeah,
Uh, Let me just say Daniel Jones has looked better than I think people expected him to look this year.
yeah,
Malik Neighbors has been out of this world, and I know a lot of Chargers fans wanted him. But I mean, Joe Alt, he's proved that he was the right pick for this particular team.
yeah,
And I'm not mad about us getting Lad McConkey, because had we gotten Neighbors, we'd have to get an O line in the second round. So I'm happy with what we have right now.
yeah.
But he's looked good. Eagles, man, injuries have piled up. Smith's been out. AJ Brown's been out. Jalen Hurts hasn't looked like himself. But there is always time to turn that around for them. It's still early in the season. Cowboys, I'm not even going to go there. I don't think they have a chance of winning the division. Every year, they get built up and then just fall flat. Commanders have been extremely impressive. Man, Jaden Daniels, I've said this in the past too. This guy is incredible. People thought he was going to be a running back, like Lamar. No, this guy can throw. And we've seen it. We saw it against the Bengals just recently. It's tough. I mean, it's between the Commanders and Eagles for me. But because the Commanders have guys like Eckler, Brian Robinson in the backfield, I think that relieves the pressure for Daniels. And as long as he stays healthy, I don't see them being dethroned from that number 1 seed this year. So I'm going to take the Commanders as of now, but the Eagles, they're going to be neck and neck all season once they get healthy. So, but right now, I got to take the Commanders.
Yeah, the Eagles do have a lot of talent, and we've seen them go to the Super Bowl, but
Yeah,
there's something missing with that team, like we said before. And I was listening to the NFL guys on ESPN the other day, and they're saying they're texting each other. They're like, Jalen Hurts just doesn't look like he's into it. Like he doesn't have the passion this year, is what they're saying. And you don't have that All-Pro center anymore, Jason Kelsey. You do. They did add Saquon Barkley, which is huge for them.
yeah,
But I think the loss of Kelsey and just something up with Jalen Hurts. Maybe it's in his head, but if he's not right, I don't see that team going where they want to be, which is a crazy drop off from the Super Bowl, to what happened last season. And you're right about the Commanders. Jaden Daniels is CJ Stroud, but he can run, and they have weapons there. Eckler. Yeah, their receiver Terry McLaurin. Um, they've been surprising, and I love to see it. Everybody's tired of the Cowboys. The Giants just don't have enough, and Danny Dimes hasn't been bad, like you said.
Yeah.
He's made Neighbors the number one wide receiver in fantasy, and I even like who's their other receiver?
Wandale Robinson.
Yeah, Wandale
Yeah,
Robinson.
he's good.
I've been picking him up in fantasy too because
Oh, he was available?
yeah.
Man,
Well, a couple weeks ago. Oh, yeah, no, yeah. Last week I scooped him up right before somebody else
wow.
did. Yeah, and I have Neighbors on that team too. So if Neighbors is out, you
Yeah,
know, and,
yeah.
and Wandell, he's been a target monster.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
always have him. He's really good as long as
yeah,
he's healthy.
yeah.
Um,
But it looks like the Commanders. For me, I think they're going to take that division there. All right, NFC West. What do you
yeah.
think?
My pick is always the Niners here. Um, I know injuries. McCaffrey. We don't know when he's going to come back, but Jordan Mason has been so impressive. Um, they're going to need McCaffrey to win it all,
Yeah,
but to win the division, I think they can do it with Jordan Mason. Um, Brock Purdy looks a lot better than last year. He just seems more comfortable in the pocket. I think he's gained more confidence after that playoff run last year. Um, and look at what he did against the Rams. Yeah, they lost, but he led that team without Debo, without Kittle, without CMC. Those are all his guys, all his main guys. And we kept hearing, oh, Purdy's nothing without his stars. Well, he just proved you wrong. So I've always liked Purdy. I think he's only going to get better from here. And he has an offensive line that can protect him. Cough, cough. And he has time to throw. And that is big for any team. So yeah, I'm going to take the Niners winning this division. Seahawks have looked good. I just, I don't know. I just can't trust Geno Smith. Um, I don't know. It's just me, maybe. I just can't trust them. Cardinals, I'm surprised they're 1-3. They have a lot of talent offensively. They've only put up 96 points. I don't know. I'm surprised to see that. They have McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, James Conner. They have a lot of guys there. And the Rams, they're just injury riddled. You need Cooper Cup out there. You need Puka Nakua. Otherwise, you're not going to win games. And we've seen that. Kyron Williams has been a monster, but it's just not enough. So if Cup and Nakua come back by, let's say, week 7, week 8, then they have a chance to make the playoffs. But I don't think they take the division. So yeah, it's just I'm going to take the Niners every year until they prove me wrong. So yeah,
yeah. The Seahawks and Bill McDonald has done a great job there with that defense. I hear they run the same kind of defense as Jesse Minter likes to run.
yeah,
So they've been successful, except in what was it, that last game against the Lions? They got lit up. But that's the Lions. That's
yeah,
a tough team to stop. Yeah, and the Niners have been there before. Like the Chargers, they're dealing with injuries. But that's a complete football team over there when you have them all there. And yeah, they're just tough to beat because like you said, even without McCaffrey, Jordan Mason can get the job done, and uh, I think they just need their defense to step up more. Yeah, I've been surprised that their defense, they've allowed 82 points, but it seems like it should be better.
yeah.
Um,
With all those firepower guys that they have out there, it should be.
yeah, yeah, you haven't heard much of about Nick Bosa there. Uh, Seasons past, he was a game wrecker for them. You're just not hearing his name right now. And like you said, the Cardinals have so much offensive firepower and just not getting it done. Only 96 points for them. You would think that number would be higher, and their defense isn't good enough
Yeah.
to stop people. And the Rams, yeah, like you said, they're dealing with injuries. Even with those guys, I think they're a playoff team, but they're not the Super Bowl team that they had when they were stacked, with
No.
Aaron Donald and so many other guys that they got for rental, 1 year rentals
Yeah.
that year.
Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, Ramsey, Von Miller. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going Niners too.
Yeah. And I mean, I get it for the Rams. They went all in that year. Super Bowl is the most important thing. But now you have to start rebuilding. Um, I think maybe one more year of Stafford, and then you either draft a rookie or you go with the QB that you have right now. I think it's Stetson Bennett. But I mean, Cooper Cup is another guy who could be a buy low candidate. I mean, he had 21 targets week one, which is absolutely insane. And it's even crazier that he got over 50% of the receptions. I think he had 14 week one. So he's a target machine. It's just a matter of his health. Can he stay healthy? And I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's had a lot of wear and tear on that body.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Keenan Allen thing. Can you trust he's going to be out there at this point?
Yeah.
And the thing with the Rams is Sean McVay going to stick around, because he's talked about retirement before. If this team struggles for a while, like does he stay?
Isn't he too young to retire?
Yeah, what's he gonna do? But
How old is he? He's like not even 40, I don't think.
yeah, he's really young. Yeah,
That's that's strange. I've never even heard him. I've never heard that he's planning on retiring.
I yeah,
Uh,
I've heard him. He contemplated that. You
this
know,
was last year that he contemplated that.
yeah, last year I think.
Maybe he just said, "You know what? Aaron Donald's gone. Screw it. I'm
Yeah,
gonna go with him." I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
Because right now, look at that. Like they've given up 115 points. So defensively, they're horrible. Um,
yeah,
Probably the only one worse than them is the Panthers, and that doesn't say much. Panthers are awful defensively right now without their defensive tackle.
yeah.
But yeah,
Maybe they need to bring Brandon Staley back.
oh man,
um,
it's still that hire is still mind boggling. I don't know where we found this guy. Like how do you? I don't know. I'm just glad it's over with Staley because had we had fired him earlier or had we replaced him earlier with Sean Payton, let's say, Harbaugh wouldn't be here.
yeah,
So, it
true.
worked out, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are our picks for divisional winners. We'll probably do one more of this later on in the season just to see where we're at. Injuries and all that, trades. So we'll probably do one more around week 12. But yeah, Chargers bye week this week. Next week they played the Broncos in Denver. Man, it's going to be a tough game. That defense is very good, but it's a winnable game. And you have to take advantage of these winnable games.
Yeah, that Denver defense, I mean, is good, but the offense struggles mightily. So you can really attack that offense,
Yeah.
and with our defense, we should force them into turnovers.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, Bo
Yeah.
Nix.
I mean,
Yeah,
they have a very bright future. I would say that team. They got a lot of young wide receivers like Troy Franklin, Knicks, and Audric Estime. Their team is very young. Dulcich, who hasn't really been involved recently, but their team is very young. And I'm guessing Estime will play next week, which will help them, but it's not going to make that big of a difference if, the O-line protects Herbert. Just give him time to throw, like we've been saying. But it's encouraging to see Alt back out there. We suspected him coming back before Slater. It's just now the question is he's on the left side practicing. Does that mean that Slater's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks? How long? Is he going to come back this season? Because if he's not going to come back this season, that's not good. So you either do one of two things. You either go out and trade for at least interior improvement, or you just say screw it and kind of, tank for a better pick. I mean, I don't know, because without Slater, Alt can only do so much. And if you're not giving Herbert time to throw, we're back to last year.
Yeah, and you also have to worry about Herbert. Is he going to get injured again?
Yeah.
That Denver defense is tough. I think the most important thing is just keeping Herbert healthy through that game.
I mean, we said that, last week, and he was pressured 10 times.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, we see other teams like we saw under Tom Brady, all those offensive linemen. They were fantastic. Brock Purdy, he has a great O-line. Other teams, like, I don't know what is so difficult about these Chargers O-lines that we just cannot protect the quarterback. Like, that's why you're in the league, to protect the quarterback. How are you in the league if you can't do that?
Well, this could be a Telesco thing. He drafted so poorly.
Yeah.
Aside from a few guys, maybe it's going to take another year or two of Ortiz putting together a team to get what they want, and our fans going to have the patience.
That's the thing. And there was a mock draft already for next year, and we're projected to land a star wide receiver, supposedly. I didn't click on it because it sounded like clickbait, but okay, let's just say star wide receiver. Our O-line hasn't improved. We draft another O-lineman.
Yeah.
Fans are going to lose their minds if that happens again. They're going to lose their minds. I don't think we're going to get Travis Hunter. I don't think we're going to be that bad. And if Slater comes back, I think we make the playoffs and we'll make a bit of a run. It's just, if he doesn't come back, that's where my concern is. Where do we go from there? But hopefully he comes back, because if that O-line isn't, 100%, I would still draft a wide receiver next year, pair him up with McConkey, and then draft the O-line in the second round this time. Like, do a reverse of what you did last year. Because again, the fans are going to go ballistic if you draft an O-line again in the first round.
Yeah, it's tough when you see what Neighbors is doing, but
yeah,
but it really doesn't apply to us because we can't protect Herbert as it is.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if Alt was, a mediocre offensive lineman, I'd say, yeah, this was a horrible pick.
Yeah.
But he's stopping guys like Crosby and Watt, and we'll see who else, as the season progresses. Hopefully he's healthy for us to see that. But if he's stopping these star-studded defensive ends, that's a good trade for me. I'd rather have Alt than Neighbors. I'd rather have Alt and McConkey, right? Because let's not forget, if we got Neighbors, we wouldn't have had McConkey.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Alt and McConkey than Neighbors and a second round O-line.
That's true. That's a good point. But yeah, tell them about Underdog Fantasy there.
Yeah, they have promos going on all month this month. 20% boost, 30%, and 40%. And when they do that, it's basically, it adds on to your multiplier. So let's say it's 3x, you get 3.6x, for example. They sometimes even have 50% boost, which would go up to 4% for a two-man. Great deals. So if you guys haven't signed on yet, use promo code BOLT, and you'll get a deposit match up to $1,000 on your first deposit, and also a free pick. They have discounted picks every day. Probably the best fantasy app out there in terms of pick'em and drafts. Like, Prize Picks doesn't have drafts, for example. So really, I would download both and look at the discrepancies. Like, let's say Justin Herbert on Prize Picks has 188.5 passing yards. on underdog is 175.5. That's a discrepancy. So I would take the over on underdog and leave the price picks one alone. So definitely take advantage of that. It's a very profitable season so far. So just yeah, if you guys are into it, use promo code BOLT and take advantage.
Definitely. And don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button and drop us some comments, ask a question. Hey, even fans of rival teams I've seen have left some comments there. We welcome that. Yeah, we
Yeah,
do.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we'll answer them the next show.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time. We'll preview that Broncos game some more and bolt up. All
See you
right. See
guys.
you.